Warning: the Savage Nation contains adult language, adult content, psychological nudity. Listener discretion is advised. And now, America's most exciting radio talk show, The Savage Nation, home of borders, language, culture. And here he is, author of Liberalism is a Mental Disorder, Trump's War, and God, Faith, and Reason, Michael Savage.
And my name is Greg Knapp. I'm filling in for Dr. Savage. He'll be back tomorrow. You can check out michaelsavage.com. That'll get you all the latest headlines. You can subscribe to the Savage newsletter. And you can also get the copy of Savage's latest book, Stop Mass Hysteria. It's in stores now. Give a copy to a cop. You can jump in at 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-SAVAGE, and you are in the Savage Nation. I keep hearing about the big red wave and the election's so close and it's going to be just such a comeuppance for Trump. And then I'm reading through story after story after story, and it's just hilarious that the real world is not matching the narrative and the agenda that you're hearing from the mainstream media. And you know why. I mean, I'm preaching to the choir on this, but you know why. This is what they expected. And I also want to get into something today that you're probably not supposed to say on talk radio. Okay, are you ready? My whole life is not politics. I know your whole life is not politics. So I've been thinking really for the last 2 years, what is with these people where their entire life is politics? I mean, the people who are Antifa, the people who are clawing at the Supreme Court doors for a swearing-in ceremony, the people who are sending suspicious letters to Senator Collins because she happened to vote for Brett Kavanaugh to be on the Supreme Court, the people who shot up the Republican baseball practice and almost killed a few people. Those people who are accosting senators and Congress people and members of the Trump administration in restaurants and chanting at them and going to their homes and scaring their family and making death threats against them. For the last 2 years, I've been trying to figure out what would make you do that, because there's nothing that happened that would remotely justify any of that. And so I want to talk about that today, because I do think that some people are starting to figure it out. And it's what I've been talking about for a while, and now it's starting to percolate through even some of the mainstream media. And I've got some stories on it today. On the idea that humans are born with a hole inside of us. We really are. You felt it. You feel that void that you've tried to fill in so many different ways. Do I fill it with a boyfriend? Do I fill it with a girlfriend? Do I fill it with a spouse? Do I fill it with drugs? Do I fill it with alcohol? Do I fill it with adrenaline sports? Do I fill it with an education? Do I fill it with money? Do I fill it with material things? Do I fill it with travel? How do I fill this void? And the more and more you get, do I fill it with fame? Do I fill it with success? So however I define that. And the more you get that you think you're going to fill it, you get it, and then the hole's still there. And it freaks you out. Is this all there is? Is this what it's all about? Why do you think we've asked the question, what is the meaning of life, since the dawn of time? Because we all have this hole that has to be filled. And if you're not filling it with the only thing that can really fill it, then you always want more. And you always get more extreme and more demanding. And that's exactly what we're seeing with the far left. And you're seeing it with some people on the far right, too. Although I think some of the people that are actually called far righties are really far lefty. Because if you're truly a fascist, you're far left, not far right. Far right is total anarchy. So what is it that really fills it? Well, for me, and I really believe for all humans, it's your belief in God and a firm faith. Now, I know a lot of people don't believe that or understand that, and that's fine. But I'm just telling you, from my personal experience, I know that's true. And for others, it can be a very strong family or a very strong network of friends. That's the closest they can get to feeling like that void is filled. But, Senator Sass, who I disagree with on a lot of stuff, he's written a new book where he talks about this problem of loneliness in America with decreasing faith, decreasing nuclear families, decreasing amount of friends that you actually have, real friends, not Facebook friends, not people who give you clicks on Instagram and Twitter and Snapchat. Real friends that you talk with, that you go to the bar with, that maybe you watch football with, or you go to the bowling alley with, or you surf or hunt with, or whatever it is that you love to do, play golf. Real friends that you can go to when something's wrong, that you support when something's wrong with them. The ones who help you move when you move. The ones who come to your house. Real friends. And we have fewer and fewer of those. You don't have a faith in God. You don't have a strong nuclear family. You don't have an extended family. You don't have close friends. You're changing jobs every 3 to 4 years, so you don't have really close. The ones who come to your house when you're sick. Real friends. And we have fewer and fewer of those. So when you don't have a faith in God, you don't persecuted all my life. I've been oppressed all my life. I've been put down all my life. And it's time for me to hit back. These guys are so awful that I can do anything. These guys are, and you know what we did to Nazis? We killed Nazis before we can do anything we want to. And that's why Eric Holder says, when they them. That's why Hillary Clinton says, how can you be civil to the people that you totally disagree with? And these guys are so awful that I can do anything. These guys are like Nazis. And you know what we did to Nazis? We killed Nazis. So therefore we can do anything we want to. And that's why Eric Holder says, when they go low, you kick them. That's why Hillary Clinton says, how can you be civil to the people that you totally disagree with? And that gives your life meaning. And now you feel like you're part of something. You're part of something big. You're part of something that could change the world. And now that void is filled at least for a little bit. It'll be empty again. But at least it felt good for the moment. And now I've got people around me who seem to support me, who seem to be my instant friends. It's their new religion because they don't have a real one. I think that's happened and it continues to happen. I think it's really dangerous. And it's really sad. Look at the increase in depression in this country over the last couple of decades. Look at the increase in loneliness the last couple of decades. Look at the increase in the destruction of the American family. And then see how it coincides to this tribalism in politics that we've been seeing. And not just Republican, Democrat, but what is your tribe? I'm black, I'm white, I'm Asian, I'm Hispanic, I'm Native American. Well, maybe I'm 1,024th Native American, but I'm than they really were. She claims it had nothing to do with her getting into law. Had nothing to do with her getting hired to very prestigious positions. And by the way, it was true because my grandmama told me about it. And then we do the test and we find out a couple very interesting things. Okay? First of all, we find out that the test shows, well, somewhere between 164th Native American and 1,024th Native American. Oh, and by the way, when you get to, around 1/500th Native American, that's less than the average European immigrant to this country. So it means nothing. But then you go a bit even further that we find out that the DNA test didn't even use DNA from Native Americans in this country. I don't know where they couldn't find it. People didn't want to give it to them, but here's what out. They used general population samples from Mexico and South America as the so-called Native American sample to compare to Elizabeth Warren. So what she has doesn't qualify to be a percentage of any known tribe in the United States. And she claimed victory. I mean, that's just enormously hilarious. She's claiming victory. And it took the Native American tribes to tell her that she didn't know what she was talking about. And Elizabeth Warren, is trying to troll Trump. This is from this is from the AP, Dateline Washington. Trump's mockery of Warren's claim of Native American history. He's called her Pocahontas. And said he would offer to pay $1 million to charity if she took a DNA test. Clearly got into her head. Okay, well, let's stop right there. He actually didn't say he would offer $1 million to charity if she took the DNA test. He actually said, I watched it yesterday several times, he said, you know, if she runs for president and we're in a debate, then I'm going to challenge her. And then he went on to talk about the test and the $1 million. So she hasn't run for president. There hasn't been a debate, and he hasn't challenged her. It was a hypothetical that he talked about at a rally as a joke, and yet Elizabeth Warren and some in the press are trying to make it seem like he promised her $1 million to charity if she could show, quote, 1 drop of Native American blood in her. Remember the old 1 drop slave rule for blacks? I thought that was a bad thing. Now we're making it a good thing? A good thing? Asked about the promise to donate to Warren's charity of choice, Trump said, I'll only do that if I can test her personally. That will not be something I enjoy doing either. To which Warren replies, we all know why Donald Trump makes creepy physical threats about me, right? He's scared. He's trying to do what he always does to women who scare him. Call us names, attack us personally, shrink us down to feel better about himself. It may soothe his ego, but it won't work. Where was the physical threat? A DNA test is a physical threat? Utah Republican Senator Orrin Hatch, he's 84 years old. He tweeted a photo of himself looking at his phone at his own DNA test results, and it showed that he had a small fraction of Tyrannosaurus rex ancestry. The rest, other dinosaurs. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. Okay. And Trump has now gone after her. Pocahontas, the bad version, sometimes referred to as Elizabeth Warren, is getting slammed. She took bogus DNA tests. It showed that she may be 1/1024th, far less than the average American. Now Cherokee Nation denies her. DNA test is useless, is what the Cherokee Nation said. Even they don't want her. Phony. Uh-oh, what do you mean? What do you mean, even they? What do you mean, Donald, even they don't want her? What are you saying about the Cherokee Nation? We got more on this. Let me get Donna in Virginia. Donna, you are on the Savage Nation. My name's Greg Knapp, filling in. Go right ahead.
Hi, Greg. I just want to say to you, after listening to Liz Warren and going through this whole thing with the Cherokee Nation rebuking her use of DNA test inappropriate and all that.
Right.
The lesson to me in this whole thing is, why don't we get smart about it and just remove race from all federal documents for all Americans? It makes sense, and it's long overdue.
Well, because, like you say, Donna, all could claim, because really, we all come from the same place if you go back far enough, right? We all come back from the confluence of 3 rivers around Iraq, right? So if you go back far enough, we're all African American, we're all Asian American, we're all Indian American, we're all everything because we all came from the same place. And I have in my notes, Donna, kind of what you were talking about. I mean, why do we care about our DNA and our ancestry and our fractions of identity? I mean, it really shouldn't it? We're supposed to be the content of our character. It's supposed to be what we've worked for, what we've accomplished, what we've created. That makes us who we are, how we act repeatedly over time. And what I love now is when I see people, before you had a DNA test, you and I were great friends and we were equals. Now you get a DNA test and all of a sudden I'm your oppressor? Or now you get a DNA test and now all of a sudden you're better than me? Because of a DNA test? Instead of us focusing on the fact that, hey, guess what? We're all human and we're all Americans. So why don't we just, move on from there? No, we cannot. This should be the end of identity politics as we know it. It won't be, but it should be. 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-SAVAGE. I got a little bit, including some more Trump's tweets about Elizabeth Warren that you need to hear. My name is Greg Knapp, in for Dr. Savage on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or Swiss.com. Today America's economy is flying higher and faster than any major nation in history. What President Trump has achieved has been amazing. But what happens in the November midterm elections could quickly slam on the brakes, sending the financial markets into a tailspin. The emergence of a socialist Democratic Party could have huge consequences. Believe me. How will the midterm elections affect your investment portfolio? Find out now in a new Swiss America special report how the midterm elections will affect your bottom line. You get it today free by calling 800-289-2646. That's a number you have come to trust. 800-289-2646 or visit SwissAmerica.com. This is very serious business. If the Democrats gain a majority in Congress, all the economic gains we've seen could quickly disappear. Get prepared now. Call 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646 to find out how the midterm elections will affect your bottom.
My name's Greg Knapp. I'm in for Savage on the Savage Nation. He'll be back tomorrow. You can go to michaelsavage.com. Got the headlines, the newsletter, and you can check out Stop Mass Hysteria, Savage's latest book. It's in stores now. Why don't you give a copy to a cop? It's 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-SAVAGE. We're talking about this red wave that's coming, but I keep seeing all these stories that are fairly negative about what's going on with Democrats. We're going to get into this generic ballot and battleground districts. That's not good for Democrats. What's going on with Beto O'Rourke and Cruz? That's not good. What's going on in Arizona? That's not good. There's just a ton of... She won. I mean, she really thought she was coming out with this story to show that she is American Indian. She is a Native American. I am. It's not just my high cheekbones. Look at my genealogy test that says I could be as little as 1,024th Native American, to which everybody said, wait, what? What? That's less than the average immigrant from Europe's family is. I mean, like, average American that would go get a DNA test right now would have more Native American blood than you, Elizabeth Warren. And she thinks it's a victory. So Trump's hitting back. Now that her claims of being of Indian heritage have turned out to be a scam and a lie, Elizabeth Warren should apologize for perpetrating this fraud against the American public. Harvard called her a person of color, amazing con, and would not have taken her otherwise. Oh, man. There's the Trump slam on affirmative action. Then we move on. Thank you to the Cherokee Nation for revealing that Elizabeth Warren, sometimes referred to as Pocahontas, is a complete and total fraud. As I mentioned, the DNA test didn't even test DNA against Native Americans. It tested against general population from Mexico and South America. And the Cherokee Nation Secretary of State Chuck Hoskin said DNA is not evidence for a tribal affiliation. Well, we got a lot more on the problems with the Democrats and a dating show that starts with sex. My name's Greg Knapp, in for Savage.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
If you or a loved one struggles with leg or foot cramps, you've got to try TheraWorks Relief. It's a non-greasy foam proven to relieve muscle cramps fast. And with daily use, TheraWorks Relief can even prevent muscle cramps so you can get a full night's sleep or do the activities you love without worry. TheraWorks Relief only takes minutes to apply. It absorbs quickly. It works. People love this stuff. Make TheraWorks Relief your choice for preventing and relieving muscle cramps. Get TheraWorks Relief today in the pain relief aisle at Walmart, CVS, Rite Aid, Walgreens, or at TheraWorksRelief.com.
Hey, how you doing? My name's Greg Knapp. I am in for Dr. Savage on the Savage Nation. You can join in at 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-SAVAGE. The doctor will be back in tomorrow. And you can also go to michaelsavage.com. You got headlines. You got the newsletter. You got ways to find his latest hysteria. That's now. And me for right now at 855-400-SAVAGE. 400-SAVAGE, 855-400-SAVAGE. The doctor will be back in tomorrow. Until then, you can also go to michaelsavage.com. You got headlines. You got the news. I'm going to take this test. I'm taking it, and the results are going to be revealed right here. This is my Trump moment. This is reality TV. And as he pointed out that Elizabeth Warren might be 10 generations removed from an American Indian in her line, he said, I think I can beat her. He joked at the end of the interview that he would probably wind up being Iranian, and that would be, like, terrible. Brian Kilmeade from Fox News jumped in and said, the Iranians are good people. It's just the bad leaders. Most Americans should start doing this now. Everybody. You're a Native American. You're a Native American. You're a Native American. Meanwhile, the Cherokee Nation not happy with Warren's DNA test. Secretary of State for the Cherokee Nation, Chuck Hoskin Jr., issued the following statement. A DNA test is useless to determine tribal citizenship. Current DNA tests do not even distinguish whether a person's ancestors were indigenous to North or South America. And he's right, because the test was actually done on people from Mexico and South America. Cherokee Nation Secretary of State Chuck Hoskin said, sovereign tribal nations set their own legal requirements for citizenship, and while DNA tests can be used to determine lineage, such as paternity to an individual, it is not evidence for tribal affiliation. Using a DNA test to lay claim to any connection to the Cherokee Nation or any tribal nation, even vaguely, is inappropriate and wrong. It makes a mockery out of DNA tests and its legitimate uses, while also dishonoring legitimate tribal governments and their citizens whose ancestors are well documented and whose heritage is proven. Senator Warren is undermining tribal interests with her continued claims of tribal heritage. Can't even. She thought this was going to be a slam dunk. She thought this was going to set Trump back. She thought that everybody was going to get on the Warren bandwagon. She thought that this was really going to work, and it's done the exact opposite. Alex Griswold had a great tweet. The media She thought this was going to be a slam dunk. She thought this was going to set Trump back. She thought that everybody was going to get on the Warren bandwagon. She thought that his critics overstated things. Yep. As Trump said, she owes the nation an apology. What's her percentage? 1/1000th? Well, maybe 1/1024th. It really shouldn't matter anyway. But when you claim that stuff, it's backfiring again. It's just another backfire here. 855-400-SAVAGE gets you on board. 855-400-SAVAGE. Let me get Joe in, WABC. Joe, you are on the Savage Nation. My name is Greg Knapp, filling in. Go right ahead.
Hello, Greg. This great mayor is pushing for the birth certificate to have for the parents to check of the newborn.
Yes.
I think they should do that with ethnicity and race. We should all pick our ethnicity, our race, because the the DNA on the genome can't really distinguish that.
No, some of everything in us. Like I said, we are all human to the conflict in Iraq. So all
our ethnicity, our race, because the genetics, the DNA on the genome can't really distinguish that.
No, and we all. Listen, I'm not running for the Supreme Court. People tried to say, like, the media actually said Trump said he never promised $1 million to Warren's favorite charity, and he did. Well, actually, this is what he said. Do we have the beginning of it?
And in the middle of the debate, when she proclaims that she's of Indian heritage, because her mother said she has high cheekbones. That's her only evidence that her mother said. Okay,
stop right there. Did you hear the beginning of it? In the middle of the debate. And if you could rewind it even just a tiny bit further, I don't know. But he says, you know, Elizabeth Warren, she may run. I hope she does. And then if we had a debate, in the middle of the debate. So he's setting it all up with these hypotheticals. And they're claiming that he said he would give her $1 million if she did this test. No, not really. Oh, you're splitting hairs. No, not really. The whole thing was a hypothetical that he was talking about in a rally, kidding around. But even if you took him 100% literally, the point was if she ran for president and there was a debate, he would then challenge her for that. And by the way, this didn't prove that she's Native American. It disproved it. It's just, I guess. How about that dude? When you took him 100% literally, the point was if she ran for president and there was a debate, he would then challenge her for that. And by the way, this didn't prove that she's Native American. It disproved it. It's just, I guess, you know, if you're allowed to pick your sex, why not your ethnicity? How about that dude that coming home to roost? You said there was no difference between men and women anyway. And you said everybody's like me on talk radio joked about, well, you know, before you know it, women's sports are going to be over because men are going to do this. And we were kidding around. I mean, because no man's really going to do that. This is just a joke. This is just to show you how absurd it is to think that you could just claim you're something else. And when people like me on talk radio laughingly joked about, well, you know, before you know it, women's sports are going to be over because men are going to do this. And we were kidding around. I mean, because no man's really going to do that. This is just a joke. This is just to show you how absurd it is to think that you could just claim you're something else. And now it's happening. We've seen it happen at high school track meets. Now we've seen it at a world cycling competition. And the far left can't say anything about it because they'd have to admit that what they really are saying is crazy. Let me get Chuck in. Chuck, you are on the Savage Nation. My name's Greg Knapp filling in. Go right ahead.
The term chickens coming home to roost really became in popular use in this country when Ward Churchill, the phony American Indian at the University of Colorado, wrote a paper about 9/11 administration at the University of Colorado, and we have to know the story of Ward Churchill.
Oh yeah.
They published, I don't know if they published them nationally, the emails between the administration at the University of Colorado and the faculty when he had applied for a job. And the email said, "Well, we have to get him immediately. We're going to lose him to some other school. We need someone with his background, with his credentials, with his writing ability." The man was a total fraud, total and complete fraud. He had about the same Indian background, and the Indian tribes at that time said he's not one.
I remember that, where the Indian tribes said they said that no, they're not claiming him. And it goes to this whole thing of identity politics. This idea that because of your DNA or who your great-great-great-grandmother was changes who you are and how valuable you are just doesn't make sense. That's not how we do it in America. So it'd be like saying, hey, your dad was a serial murderer, therefore you are a horrible person. We don't do that, right? But we do it for other things. Let's say that your great-great-great-great-grandfather was a slave owner. Be a very liberal idea. I'm going to treat everyone the same. I'm not going to care what color you are. I'm not going to care whether you're a man. I'm not going to care what religion you believe in. Liberal care what color you are. I'm not going to care whether you're a man or a woman. I'm not going to care what religion you believe in. I'm not going to care where you came from. I'm going to treat everyone I come in contact with the same. That used to be a very liberal idea. Now, it's a very conservative idea that liberals say is a way to oppress people.
It's not the only
it used to be a very liberal idea to say,
how about we go to this?
That this the way to not discriminate on a color is to treat everyone the same. Now they're saying if you treat everyone the same, that's discriminatory. That's how crazy this world has gone. It's upside down. It's inside out. It's a bizarro world. And I was also telling you about that Elizabeth Warren is not the only problem story for the Democrats. Okay, how about we go to this? This is from ABC News Washington Post ABC poll. Generic ballot in battleground districts, the ones that really count, the battleground districts where it's kind of, we don't know who's going to win. Look, we all know in the House, everybody in the House is up for election every 2 years, right? And we all know there are certain districts that are definitely going to be Republican. And there are certain districts that are definitely going to be Democrat. I mean, it doesn't matter. The R is going to win in this district, the D is going to win in this district, and it's done. Doesn't really matter who the names are. And then we get to the ones that are battleground districts, where it's kind of up for grabs. We're not sure who's going to win this one. And that's where the movement happens in the House of Representatives. So this Washington Post ABC News poll that it's going to be this blue wave. But what you got to look at is where the real battles are. So here's what Klein says. With 22 days to in places that makes everybody think in the far left area and the media and the Democrats, but I repeat myself, that it's going to be this blue wave. But what you got to look at is where the real battles are. So here's what Klein says. With 22 days to go, they worry that a whole lot of their midterm enthusiasm will wind up wasted in places they don't need the extra votes. Very strong Democratic areas, right? Nationwide, Trump has a 41% approval rating. Democrats have a 53 to 42% edge in the generic ballot for the House. But you go to the districts, go to Beto O'Rourke down in Texas, and Cruz is up 52 to 45, according to CNN. Likely voters in Texas, immigration at the top of their issue list. 26% called the most important issue. 23% call the economy their top priority, and Cruz leads among both of those voters in the race, and he's winning 52-45. But hey, the good news for Beto, he's got $38 million he raised for his candidacy, but the Democrats want him to share it. So you don't need $32 million. Come on, share it. O'Rourke says, well, I'm going to tell you exactly about money that he raised for his race from these Democrats that want it, and that's this new reality TV show where dating starts with sex. Hang in. My name's Greg Knapp. This is The Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 889-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. Have you ever taken your car in for an oil change? Your mechanic finds something wrong, and bingo, surprise, you're hit with a huge repair bill. And what happens when you're not covered by the manufacturer's warranty? You're paying out of your own pocket to fix it, that's what. That's why I recommend extended vehicle protection from CarShield. If your car has 5,000 to 150,000 miles, CarShield can save you from paying for high repair bills. Replacing your engine or even a simple sensor can cost thousands. But when you're protected by CarShield, you can have your favorite mechanic or dealership fix your car. It's your choice. CarShield also provides 24/7 roadside assistance and a rental car while yours is being fixed for free. Get covered by the ultimate in extended vehicle protection. Get CarShield. How? Call 800-CAR-6100. 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 Mention code SAVAGE or visit carshield.com. Use code SAVAGE to save a big 10%. That's carshield.com or 800-CAR-6100. Code SAVAGE to save 10%. A deductible may apply.
Call 800-481-05.
I am very strongly in favor of mobilizing the American people to stand up and fight for economic justice and social justice and racial and environmental justice. And I think we have to mobilize people. I am not a great fan of being rude or disrupting activities. 4 years ago, when the Republicans did really, really well, we had the lowest voter turnout since World War II, and that's got to change. Mm-hmm. So my hope is that people stand up, fight back, and get involved.
Bernie Sanders responding to whether he would condemn the protesters who have gotten violent and the protesters who have turned into mobs. And yes, I said mobs because that's what it is. When you have a group of people go into a private restaurant, it's not private, it's public. Well, it's privately owned. It's open to the public. And shout down and chant loudly so that no one in the restaurant can enjoy their meal and shout at people until they leave. That's a mob. I don't know what else you would call it. When you have people breach police lines, race up the stairs and try to break down the doors where a Supreme Court nominee is being sworn in, that's a mob. I don't know what else you call it. Bernie Sanders asked to condemn that, and instead he says, my hope is that people stand up, fight back, and get involved. Now, he did say, I'm not a great fan of being rude or disrupting activities. Well, isn't that nice? But you got people who are giving death threats, who are sending suspicious envelopes to Senator Collins because of her vote on the Supreme Court. You've got people who are shouting people down and harassing them on the restaurant. You got people who are giving death threats, who are sending suspicious envelopes to Senator Collins because of her vote on the Supreme Court. You've got people who are shouting people down and harassing them on the streets, in restaurants. And, well, I'm not a big fan of people being rude. You got people on the far left shutting down bridges and interstate highways. Well, I'm just barely explain a single cogent policy on national television. She's the socialist one. Let her run her local race for what he is, a carnival barker who should be disavowed, Democrat running for election anywhere. Hey, guys, I'm trying to help. If Democrats don't take the House and the Senate as they're supposed to and defeat Trump in 2020, they'll have no one to blame but themselves. This shouldn't be that hard. Well, actually, it kind of is. My name's Greg Knapp. We're getting into this illegal immigration problem in Central America. I'm in for Dr. Savage. This is the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call 855-400. 855-400. Savage.
And my name's Greg Knapp. I'm in for Dr. Savage on the Savage Nation. Now, he'll be back tomorrow. Until then, you can go to michaelsavage.com. Check out all the latest headlines. You can subscribe to the Savage newsletter. And you can also get a copy of Dr. Savage's latest book, Stop Mass Hysteria. It's in stores now. Buy one and give a copy to a cop. Buy two. One to the cop, one for you to keep. Or buy three. Give one to just some kind of crazy liberal person and, just watch their head explode. That'd be kind of fun, too. 855-400-SAVAGE gets you on board the program. 855-400-SAVAGE. And we're back to the illegal immigration situation. Here we are getting closer and closer to the election. And a lot of things are coming to the fore again that seem to be helping the Republicans and conservatives. And it's putting back in the mind some of the things that President Trump ran upon. You're seeing a lot of good news about the economy. That's one of the things he ran on. We're seeing Supreme Court justices being confirmed that President Trump said he would do when he ran. And we're seeing problems with illegal immigration pop back up again that he talked about. Now, the wall has not been built. Parts of it have been started. Rebuilding has been started. He's been trying. A lot of Republicans seem to be dragging their feet on it. But look at this story from the Associated Press. Migrant caravan swells in Honduras as the group nears Guatemala. Now, they say they're all coming over because of poverty. And there's no doubt about it. Honduras is a very poor country. It's actually where I did a mission trip when I was in high school. I went to Honduras. I stayed in Tela one week and in Moa another week. I was in high school. It was with my church. And it was, and this is way back in like 85. And it was extremely poor then. And one of the cities is way out in the country that we went to. The other one is in one of their bigger cities. And it didn't matter where you were, the poverty was really bad. But I thought the people were extremely nice. I'd taken 4 years of Spanish, so I could speak at about the third grade level. So I hung out with the kids and played soccer with them, and we gave them food and drinks, and we invited them to church and all that kind of stuff. And it was we rebuilt some churches for them. It was a lot of fun, but you really just felt so sad for the poverty that people lived in and the conditions that they lived in. So I have great empathy for the idea that people are living in poverty. But you realize there are 1 billion people on the planet that are poorer than the people in Mexico, and we can't take them all. So being poor is not a reason for you to illegally enter the United States of America, because we can't take everybody. We've got a lot of poor people here too, and we're trying to take care of them. That's the whole America First thing. We've got to take care of our own first. And Honduras needs to take care of its own. And Honduras is doing a horrible job of that. We've been giving them aid, by the way, over $100 million in aid every year for years. Since 2013, we've given at least $100 million a year. And for what? Is anything changing? It's a nation of 9 million people, and how many million have already fled? So this idea that we can just have open borders and let anybody come in because otherwise you don't care about people, you got to care about your own people first. Charity begins at home. And it would make a lot more sense to help the people in Honduras improve their economy and improve their way of life in Honduras than it does to say, come on in. You can't use poverty as your excuse to break our laws. But they are. So the AP story quotes Dunia Montoya, a volunteer assisting the illegal aliens. They're calling them migrants in here, but they're illegal aliens. They're just crossing the border on their own, and it doesn't matter when they come to America. But it's very interesting, because listen to this in the second paragraph. Dunia Montoya, a volunteer assisting the migrants, said Sunday that the group had grown to an estimated 1,600 people, and that many in the group might not be allowed to enter Guatemala because they lack official identification documents. Wait, I thought it didn't matter if you had any documents. I thought the whole point was undocumented is okay. I thought the whole point was no person is illegal. I thought the whole point was, only evil America seems to care about borders. But Guatemala might not let them in? Guatemala might not let them in? And not just Guatemala. Mexico's Interior Ministry issued a stern reminder this weekend that Mexico does not issue entry visas for those who don't meet the requirements to transit toward a neighboring country. And Mexico said it issues visas at the consulates abroad, not at border entry points. Wait a second, I thought only the evil America was telling people they had to come in at legal entry points. And by the way, if America is so evil, if America is so systemically racist, if America is the problem in the world, why do so many people want to come here? Why do so many of the poor people still want to come? Why do so many people want to claim asylum to come to the United States? I mean, if you're claiming asylum, what you're supposed to do is stop in the first country that you come to. And if you grab a map, then they shouldn't be coming to America. I mean, if you're leaving Honduras, why aren't you stopping in El Salvador? Well, El Salvador is a bleep hole, too. Wait a second, I thought President Trump got in trouble for calling these countries bleep holes. I mean, why would you want to flee Honduras unless it's a bleep hole country? Think about that. Why would you want to leave your country unless it's a bleep hole country? Why would so many risk everything, leave everything behind, risk their family being robbed and members of their family being raped or murdered on the trip unless you're fleeing a bleep hole country? So why wouldn't you stop in El Salvador? Bleep hole country. Why don't you stop in Guatemala? Bleep hole country. Why don't you just go north a little bit and stop in Belize? I mean, Americans retired to Belize. Why wouldn't you stop in Mexico? Bleep hole country. They're all bleep hole countries? I thought that was a horrible thing to say. Well, why don't you go south instead of north? Why don't you stop in Nicaragua? Bleep hole country. How about Costa Rica? Again, we've got Americans who vacation in Costa Rica, go surfing in Costa Rica, relocate and retire in Costa Rica. Or go a little further south, Panama. Panama, again, that's another expatriate retirement home community down there in Panama. They can't all be bleep hole countries, can they? So why risk all that and go so far just to get to the United States since it's such a horrible, racist country? Because we all know it's not. It puts the lie to everything you hear from the far left. So they're coming again because, you know, people are poor in Honduras. That's not an excuse for you to come to our country illegally. So President Trump is getting out ahead of this, and he said that he will cut off U.S. foreign aid to Honduras if they don't stop a caravan of migrants moving toward the U.S. border. They really means illegal aliens. So here's the question. Do you think that's the right thing to do? Cutting off foreign aid, is that the best thing to do when Honduras allows this many people to flee? And what about the countries in between that are just allowing them to keep on moving to the United States of America when they know it's all about an illegal alien situation? Trump tweeted out, if the illegal aliens are not stopped before they reach the U.S. border, no more money or aid will be given to Honduras, effective immediately. Now, there's a piece here from Mike Ciandella, and he tries to break down, is that something that President Trump can legally do? Can the president say, we're going to cut off aid? Well, not if it's aid that's been approved by the United States Congress that's specifically for a country. But there are some things that he can do. Now, according to USAID, in 2016, the most recent year we have the numbers for, we gave Honduras $152 million. And for 2017, so far we've given them $144 million. And there's more to come. And for every year since 2013, we've given at least $100 million in aid to Honduras. So can Trump stop it if he wants to? Well, here's what they say. The president can end foreign aid without congressional approval if he makes the argument that the recipient country has violated conditions that were placed on the aid. Now, he did this in September 2017 to stop military aid going to Pakistan because they didn't follow what they said they were going to do. Now, when it comes to suspending all foreign aid to a nation, when that aid was not given with conditions, then Trump doesn't have 100% power over that. What he can do, he can freeze specific foreign aid for 45 days. But if it's already been approved by Congress, then he needs congressional approval to keep that freeze on beyond 45 days. Would he get that? He might. I mean, you got the House, but you don't have 2/3 of the Senate, but you don't need 2/3 unless they filibuster, and we go on and on. Now, one exception. If you're close to the end of the fiscal year, if you're within 45 days of the end of the fiscal year, you can freeze it for the 45 days. The fiscal year ends, and the money's ended. So there are some options. Do you think he should use those options? This is one of the big things that he ran on, that we have to have law and order, that you have to have borders. It's one of the things that Dr. Savage talks about all the time. If you don't have borders, you don't have a nation. And the idea that somehow poverty is the excuse to violate the borders of multiple nations to come into our country illegally, then why do we have any borders at all? And why do we have any immigration laws at all? And don't we see how that impacts American citizens and legal immigrants and people who are waiting to be legal immigrants? It totally undermines the fairness of our immigration system and the fairness of what our government does for our own citizens. Look, if you really want to help the people in Honduras, then help the people in Honduras. And you can do that by going on mission trips, by donating money, by donating food. You can do all kinds of stuff. But what the liberals want to do is to force everyone to break our laws. And they really don't care what impact it has on the country. In economics, in our schools, in our prisons, in our hospitals, they don't care. Because they see them as votes. Oh, you don't believe me? Wait till you hear this quote I have for you on what part of the blue wave is. We're going to get that in just a second, and love your thoughts on it as well. 855-400-SAVAGE to get in. 855-400-SAVAGE. My name's Greg Knapp, in for Dr. Savage on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future. Call 800-289-2646 or SwissAmerica.com. You know, today America's economy is flying higher and faster than any major nation in history. What President Trump has achieved has been amazing. But what happens in the November midterm elections could quickly slam on the brakes, sending the financial markets into a tailspin. The emergence of a socialist Democratic Party could have huge consequences, believe me. How will the midterm elections affect your investment portfolio? Find out now in a new Swiss America special report how the midterm elections will affect your bottom line. You get it today free by calling 800-289-2646. That's a number you have come to trust. 800-289-2646 or visit SwissAmerica.com. This is very serious business. If the Democrats gain a majority in Congress, all the economic gains we've seen could quickly disappear. Get prepared now. Call 800-289-2646. 800-289-2646 to find out how the midterm elections will affect your bottom line. I'm Michael Savage, and you're listening to Talk 1300 and 98.7.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Knapp. I'm in for Michael Savage on the Savage Nation. He'll be back tomorrow. 855-400-SAVAGE to get you on board. And we were talking about another illegal alien caravan. They call it a migrant caravan, but the problem is they're wanting to do this illegally. They were just wanting to come in no matter what. And so President Trump is threatening in a tweet that he will cut off aid to Honduras if this caravan is not stopped. By the way, Guatemala is saying, hey, if you don't have documentation, we're not going to let you in. And Mexico is basically saying the same thing. But I thought only America cared about borders, and only America was the bad one, right? No. Of course not. In fact, you trying to live a life as an illegal alien in Mexico is very, very difficult. Extremely difficult. They don't play around like America does. And we can go through the list of all the things that they do, but it take a long time. I've done that many, many times. But instead, what I wanted to get you today, a Democratic gubernatorial nominee, Stacey, I believe it's Abrams, she says a blue wave will include something very interesting. Listen to this on clip 9.
The blue wave is African American. Yeah! It's white, it's Latino, it's Asian Pacific Islander. It is disabled. It is differently abled. It is LGBTQ. It is law enforcement. It is veterans. It is made up of those who've been told that they are not worthy of being here. It is comprised of those who are documented and undocumented.
Wait, what? But isn't the blue wave people who are voting? Well, yeah. Don't you have to be an American citizen to vote? Well, but that should go away. That just shows that these people aren't wanted. And that's not right. And they should be allowed to vote. And in some cities, they're allowed to vote for city elections, and we want to make it so they can vote anywhere. But they're not citizens. So what? I mean, really? And you know what I thought was also interesting about that? Listen to there's a lot of cheering for different groups in this identity politics, but there are two groups that didn't get a whole lot of cheering. Let's hear that again. Got 9?
The blue wave is African American. It's white, it's Latino, it's Asian Pacific Islander.
Okay, stop it. So there was a big cheer for African American, and then it's white, it's Latino, it's Asian Pacific Islander, and then there was a cheer again. I don't know. Maybe she was afraid to say it's white and then not have a cheer. I don't know, man. I'm just saying it's just everything is about race and identity politics with the far left, man. It really is. But hey, if Alec Baldwin has his way, we'll just overthrow this guy. I'll get to that in a second. In fact, let's play that right now. Yeah. This is Alec Baldwin, and he's at a New Hampshire Democratic Eleanor Roosevelt dinner, clip 11.
The way we implement change in America is through elections. We change governments here at home in an orderly and formal way. And in that orderly and formal way and lawful way, we need to overthrow the government of the United States under Donald Trump.
That is actually the most sane thing I've heard from Alec Baldwin probably since he was in Hunt for Red October. I mean, really. That is actually what you're supposed to say. I've got no problem with that. He said, we change governments here at home in an orderly and formal way. And he says through elections. And in that orderly way, we need to overthrow the government of the United States under Donald Trump. I got no problem with that in terms of, hey, you get enough people to vote that way and throw him out and throw out all the people who agree with him, then, hey, you did it. That's the most sane thing I've heard this dude say since he was in Hunt for Red October. And I'm surprised they cheered for him. Because the left doesn't think we need any stinking elections. They got Antifa. They got Black Lives Matter. They got people trying to tear down the doors of the... About a game show that starts with sex? We'll get that in a second. My name's Greg Knapp for Savage.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE.
Cyber criminals can attack your laptop, tablet, or smartphone without warning, without you even knowing. Or they can steal your identity, and you may not realize it until it's too late. And that's why LifeLock Identity Theft Protection now includes the power of Norton Security. To help protect your identity on devices, I have both. LifeLock uses proprietary technology to help detect a range of threats to your identity. How about your personal info for sale on the dark web? Well, Norton Security protects against online threats like ransomware or malware. And if there's a problem, LifeLock with Norton has agents who will work to fix it. No one can prevent all identity theft or cybercrime or monitor transactions at all businesses. But new LifeLock with Norton Security provides more detection and more protection against cyber threats. Go to LifeLock.com or call 1-800-LifeLock and use promo code SAVAGE for an additional 10% off your first year. Plus, you get a $25 Amazon gift card with annual enrollment. That's LifeLock.com, promo code SAVAGE for...
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Knapp. I'm in for Dr. Savage on the Savage Nation. You can jump in at 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-SAVAGE. Go online to michaelsavage.com. We were talking about this illegal alien caravan coming out of Honduras towards America again. President Trump said, hey, if Honduras doesn't stop this from happening and have people coming into our country illegally, we're going to stop the aid. Now, there are ways he can freeze it for 45 days. There are parts of it that maybe he could stop on his own. The rest might require some congressional help. But if he waits till 45 days left with the fiscal calendar, then that would end the payments for that year. So there's some things he can do. Do you think that's the right thing to do? I want to get Ken in from North Carolina. Ken, you're on the Savage Nation. Go right ahead.
Thank you very much for taking the call. I just want to point out the very obvious thing when you peel back the layers of this problem. Mainstream media has been concentrating on the Democrats and everything else, but really what's going on is human trafficking. So many organizations around the world have classes and training against human trafficking.
Yeah, and when that's pointed out, Ken, it's poo-pooed by the mainstream media, but you're right, a lot of these minors that are coming in are being accompanied by adults who are not part of their family, and they are at high risk of being raped or abused.
That's right. And when you think about it, this caravan is being handled by handlers. 1,600 people don't organize themselves just to move north. They have people that are actually organizing them, and these people are doing it for money. And guess who's taking the cut off the top? And that's the people in these other countries that they're cutting through. So they're taking a little skim off the top each time they charge somebody for taking them north up to America.
And how many of the coyotes are involved with this is what they call the ones in Mexico that help people smuggle. Of course, there's some that say I'm volunteering because it's a humanitarian effort. But to once again, I would say, well, wait a second. If it's a humanitarian effort, then why don't we get money into Honduras from these so-called volunteers and find ways to help them in their own country, unless it's a bleep hole country? And then what about Guatemala next to it? Well, I guess it's a bleep hole country too, or El Salvador next to it. I guess it's a bleep hole country, or Nicaragua, bleep hole country, or Belize, where people retire. I guess that's a bleep hole country, or Mexico, bleep hole country, Costa Rica, Panama, going south. No, only America. But I thought we were horrible. That's a good point. Thank you for the call. I appreciate it very much. Oh, I want to throw this one out to you. Now, it's in France, but the way it's written in this piece by the AFP is amazing. Outrageous new TV dating shows cut straight to the chase. And they're talking about this one in France, but it stars people from Great Britain. A new dating show is helping time-pressed millennials save on the unnecessary preliminaries by cutting straight to the chase. Save time on unnecessary preliminaries. What's an unnecessary preliminary, and what are you talking about? Oh, they're talking about for sex. That, you don't need that unnecessary preliminaries of actually talking to someone, getting to know someone, seeing if you actually like each other, to see if you're compatible as far as your personalities go, to see if it's someone you might want to spend time with, to see if maybe even it's someone you want to build a life with and pledge that you will stay true to that one person for the rest of your life, to maybe start a nuclear family and stay connected to each other to raise the next generation the best way you possibly can, so the next generation can be better than the one who's alive now, because that's the progression that we want in Western civilization. But see, Western civilization's bad. You don't want that. So we're going to get rid of all that, because actually analyst Virginia Musler says the new age of dating is not for prudes. So see, if you actually believe that you should talk to someone first, get to know someone first, maybe go on some dates, actually think that you really do have feelings for each other, maybe even get married before you have sex, then you are a prude. It used to be, hey, if you get married before sex, then, hey, that was a really good idea, because that prevents a lot of bad things from happening. Now you're a prude. And now, not only if you say you want to wait till you're married, if you want to wait till the third date, you're a prude. Because this show is called Making Love. And they're using that term very loosely. There's no love involved at all. MIPCOM is making it. It's the world's biggest TV market in Cannes. And the contestants, it's a reality show, have sex with each other first and then decide if they like each other. So they're thrown in to immediately have sex. They say they have brought together scientifically matched singles to ask the essential question, quote, could making love make you fall in love, end quote. Well, there's no such thing as making love if there's no love. What they really want to say is, can having sex make you fall in love? Can really, effing someone make you fall in love? That's what they're really asking, because there's no love involved. Greg, why are you such a prude? What are you saying, that you actually should care about the person you're having sex with? Look, when I was a young teenager, I thought, oh, man, yeah, no, you don't need fun. If two people want to do it, they should just do it and have fun, because I wanted to have sex. I was 18 years old. I thought it was going to be great. Let's go to college and have sex with as many people as you can. And then you start to realize how empty that is and how wrong that is. And I wish that I had known it a lot earlier than I did. It doesn't make you a prude, it makes you smart. But if you say it today, oh, no, that's just a horrible thing to even say. Behind the bedroom, door cameras have captured the new couple's every move, every awkward moment, and then they pull away at the last minute, only to reappear in the post-coital glow or gloom. Contestants can then hurry into the bathroom to debrief the audience on just how their new partner performed. And I'm sure the show will be a hit. Because no one ever went broke underestimating the TV viewing public. That you would sit there really and look, I know it's titillating. I know it's clickbait. I know it's like a car wreck where you really don't want to look, but you can't turn away. I get that. We have to rise above that base instinct and turn away, because really, this is entertainment. Two strangers having sex and then telling you how the other person did. And you know they're going to try and rip each other down. Oh, it's just the same thing that's going on between Stormy and Trump. We'll get to that in a minute. We will follow the daters over the next few weeks to see if the pair remain friends with benefits, or will they choose to get to know each other and start a relationship. That's the show. Yep. I mean, if you don't like it, you're a prude. I mean, that's going to be really hot. That's going to be really cool. Really? Do you think so? 855-400-SAVAGE gets you on board the program. 855-400-SAVAGE, and you're on board. And have you been paying attention to the stuff with the hurricanes? Okay? I live in Florida, so when I hear the stuff about the hurricanes and I'm being told that they're getting bigger, more intense, and there's more of them because of global warming, I said, what? And when I saw President Trump on with Leslie Stahl on Sunday, I said, boy, I wish somebody had briefed President Trump. Because the truth is, there is no trend of more hurricanes on the planet. There is no trend of more intense hurricanes on the planet. I don't care what the so-called experts are telling you. And when Leslie Stahl said, what scientists are saying that's not true, he should have said, Roy Spencer, PhD. Because Roy Spencer's been studying this stuff for a long time. He's a principal research scientist at the University of Alabama in Huntsville. He's written Inevitable Disaster, Why Hurricanes Cannot Be Blamed on Global Warming, and Global Warming Skepticism for Busy People. And he does it with facts from our own government. And he's got this out, inconvenient data, no trend in Florida hurricane strikes. And he's just updated a plot of Florida major hurricane strikes that he's been doing, and it follows hurricane strikes since 1900. And it includes Hurricane Michael. And here's what he found. No trend in either intensity or frequency of hurricane strikes over the last 118 years. And he uses National Hurricane Center data to do it. He's not making up the data like so many in the global warming movement do. He says the trend line for intensity is flat. The trend line in number of storms is downward, but it's insignificant. But it is downward, not upward. So there is no data that shows there are more hurricanes, and there is no data that the hurricanes are intensifying. If you look at real data and you look at it over a real period of time, and not just a window you want to cherry pick. But wait, the Gulf of Mexico is unusually warm. So Spencer points out, well, yeah, but if you look at the history of July, August, September average sea temperature, you'll see that since 1860, this summer is only the 9th warmest in the eastern Gulf of Mexico, and out of the top 10 warmest Gulf years since 1860, 7 occurred before 1970, which is before we experienced any significant warming. Well, but we're going to get more of these. Really? Major hurricanes are part of nature, as Spencer points out. And he looked at lake bottom sediment in Western Lake in the Florida Panhandle. very close to where Michael made landfall. And he said over the last 1,000 years, it's been relatively quiet for Cat 4 and 5 hurricanes, but from 1,000 to 2,000 years ago, there was a hyperactive period of intense landfalls in the Florida Panhandle. In other words, there's been time in this planet's history where there have been more hurricanes and more intense hurricanes in Florida than there are today, long before so-called global warming. By the way, the latest hurricane experts who claim that there are more hurricanes and more intense hurricanes, they don't show any data for that. And when Roy Spencer, PhD, put Michael in his count of all U.S. landing major hurricanes, it marked a downward trend since the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Not an upward trend. Not an upward trend. And yet they still keep trying to make you think that is. Massachusetts Bay Colony in 1635 had a Cat 3 or 4 storm with up to a 20-foot storm surge. Happened again in 1675. You don't see those anymore. Until 2017, the United States went 11 years without a major hurricane strike. According to a NASA scientist, that was a 1 in 177-year event to not have a strike for that long. And yet we're being told that man-made global warming is increasing the number of storms and increasing the intensity, and it's just not true based on the data. And yet Leslie Stahl made it seem like Trump didn't know what he was talking about. She was the one that knew. He didn't know. What do you think? Oh, one more victory for Trump. He's getting tired of winning. Here's the headline from Katie Pavlich. Trump was right. City council offices headed by the San Juan mayor have been raided by the FBI. Remember when Trump came out and pointed out there was corruption in Puerto Rico and that there were local failures to respond to the aftermath of Hurricane Maria last year? Well, during the recovery process with the feds, San Juan Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz regularly came out slamming Trump. And she would have a customized T-shirt against him that she wore to get on TV. Now her offices have been raided by the FBI. Whoops. The operation was related to suspected corruption in the purchasing department. San Juan Mayor Carmen Yulín Cruz said on Twitter, the instruction is always total. Her instruction for this is total collaboration. Right. The administration of the mayor of San Juan is being investigated by the FBI on corruption charges. Trump was right again. There was a lawsuit. The FBI reportedly launched the investigation following the February lawsuit filed by Yadira Molina, the former director of procurement. And she claimed that she was retaliated against for reporting the alleged irregular acts to the local comptroller. I have friends in Puerto Rico, and when I ask them about corruption, they laugh. Because they said, of course there's corruption. There's so much corruption, you would be shocked at the amount of corruption. Puerto Rico is a small island, and it's all who you know, and there's corruption like you would not believe. I said, even with the hurricane report? They said, especially with the hurricane relief. 855-400-SAVAGE, get you on board the program. 855-400-SAVAGE, and you are in. I want to get you the update on what's going on with these Democrats that are being caught lying in order to win in November. I got you the latest one on that one. My name's Greg Knapp, in for Savage. This is the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-7282. Savage.
The Savage Nation is sponsored by Swiss America, the only company I trust with my financial future.
Hey, how you doing? My name is Greg Knapp. I'm in for Michael Savage on the Savage Nation. You can jump in at 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400-SAVAGE. Online, michaelsavage.com. We're talking about, the FBI is investigating corruption from the San Juan mayor of Puerto Rico with hurricane recovery efforts, which is exactly what Trump had said, and the media made fun of him for saying it. Jose wanted to jump in on that. Jose, you were on the Savage Nation. Go right ahead.
Thanks for taking my call. This goes back 30 years to Hernandez Colón's administration when Hugo ravaged the island and they received $500 million in FEMA aid. affiliated with the Democratic Party, and that money disappeared. So that should be no surprise to fellow Puerto Ricans like myself.
Yeah, Jose, I was saying I got a lot of friends from Puerto Rico, and like I said, when I asked them about corruption, they just laughed. Like you said, it's been going on for decades.
I mean, it goes back to little Ricky Rosselló. That's what I call the current governor, because his dad was part of that corruption in '98 when George ravaged the island, too. 8 million was gone. And it was done to upgrade the power grid. So it should come as no surprise to anyone from Puerto Rico, the corruption that goes in that place.
Yeah, and it's the same thing that happened in New Orleans with Hurricane Katrina. Remember, the Democrats who were in charge of that, there was money that was given to upgrade the flooding problem with New Orleans. You were supposed to upgrade the levees. The money was there. It was spent on other things. The levees break, and it's George Bush's fault. I mean, it's crazy, man. Crazy, crazy. Thanks for the call. I appreciate it, Jose. 855-400-SAVAGE gets you on board the program. 855-400-SAVAGE. Claire McCaskill is in a fairly red state in Missouri, yet she's a Democrat, and she won. She's running again, and she always tries to run as a moderate. Well, Project Veritas got her and some of her people on tape, and it's not looking so great. I'll get you that in just a second. My name's Greg Knapp, in for Michael Savage on the Savage Nation.
Join the Savage Nation. Call now, 855-400-SAVAGE, 855-400.